Thank you very much. Wow, we have some big ones today. Huh? This is a room loaded up. Wow. Paula Reed, Jonathan Carl, Phil Rucker. Hi, Phil. How are you? Caitlin. We've got the All-Stars. A lot of All-Stars today.
Those are the names of the reporters in the room.
You too.
They rotate through
That's
because
good.
of the
Well,
lack
that's
of
fine.
distance available in the White House press
Thank you very
room.
much. In the past 4 months, we've added 10.6 million jobs,
After losing
including
30,
643 manufacturing jobs and 658,000 construction jobs.
643 manufacturing
Beyond
jobs.
expectations. We've experienced the smallest contraction of any Western nation, meaning we've been affected less than any other nation,
It's not true.
Western nation, and
Not true.
probably almost, I think you can put us in, I just saw some numbers, I think you can put us into just about any
We're
category.
going to switch over
anywhere.
to a live feed on
And the
Fox.
fastest recovery by far, and that's anywhere. Nobody's recovered like we're recovering.
That's not true at all.
We follow.
A lot of places didn't crash like we crashed. Let's go over to Fox here, and we will watch on Fox. Here we go. And with volume this
Weakest and
time.
worst recovery in American history, as you know. We continue to make progress in our fight against the China virus. New weekly cases have declined by 44% since July. Deaths declined by 20% compared to just last week. It's going down very rapidly, really rapidly. This is in contrast to nations in the European Union, which have recently experienced a sharp increase in cases. They're having a very big spike over there.
Yeah, but nowhere near
We're
what the U.S. is going
beyond
through.
our spike, and we'll see, but we're doing very well all over our country.
We are
In
not.
the past 5 weeks, per capita cases doubled in France, surged to over 300% in Spain, which I've been hearing about and speaking to some of the leaders of Spain, and they are having a hard time.
You can't compare the per capita between France and the U.S. You can't say per capita doubled in France. That makes no sense. You have to compare it to something. If he's comparing it to the United States, if you take I mean, that's just a cherry pick stat, but he's not doing it properly.
And increased more than 400% in Italy again. And as you remember, I put a ban on people coming in from Europe after the ban I imposed on China, Wuhan.
He didn't.
But because of Wuhan primarily, because that area was very infected, we also put a ban on Europe.
No ban was placed on Europe. That people could still come in.
So Spain is being...
Just because you're an American citizen or a protectorate doesn't mean that you can't carry the virus. And one way or another, it was way too late.
heavily impacted France and 400% in Italy. Yesterday, European nations experienced 50% more deaths than the United States. And you don't hear these things. You don't hear these statistics, but the United States has done really well. Very proud of everybody that worked on this. And I really do believe we're rounding the corner, and the vaccines are right there, but not even discussing vaccines and not discussing therapeutics, we're rounding the corner. We already have therapeutics out there, by the way, which are having obviously a very big impact, because you look at that, you look at the way people are recovering. It's so much better than in the past, before we knew about the disease and had anything to fight the disease.
Okay, he just said yesterday Europe experienced 50% more deaths than the United States. Not true. We'll fact check that right now. Coming over, here are the stats. Let's take a look here. The United States yesterday. This is all of Europe. Hold on. Let's go to the United States. Right here. New deaths yesterday, 414. In fact, let's go to yesterday. That's now. New deaths in the USA yesterday, 1,208. That's yesterday. In the United States, 1,208. Europe should be 50% more than that, so we'd be looking at about 1,600 deaths in Europe. Instead, we go to Europe. And yesterday in Europe, new deaths, 397. It should be 1,600. If what he said is true, it should be 1,600 deaths. It was about 400. So it's just nonsense. It's complete nonsense. He doesn't understand the figures that he's reading anyway. So, okay, let's get rid of this. Let's go back to Fox News here. Here's Trump.
Schools, as part of our science-based approach, We want schools to safely open and stay open. Children are extremely low risk of complications from the virus. Less than 0.2%, 0.2% of the coronavirus deaths have occurred in those under the age of 25.
Let's do some
and
math.
Most had underlying conditions where there was a problem. There's no substitute for in-person learning. According to a recent study, student progress in math decreased by half, and using online education compared to
that stat is false.
In-person or campus
Let's
education.
go back and just make sure he didn't say something I didn't think he said.
There's no substitute for in-person. As part of our science-based approach, we want schools to safely open and stay open. Children are extremely low risk of complications from the virus. Less
Over 800 children have the new Kawasaki syndrome.
than 0.2%. 0.2%.
Oh, 0.2%. Okay. So that's 300 and some kids. I got that wrong. Hold on. I'm going to bring the calculator back up.
Of the coronavirus deaths have occurred in those under the age of 25, and most had underlying conditions where there was a problem. There's no substitute for in-person learning. According to a recent study, student progress.
380 kids, but one death is too many. But 380 kids have died from the coronavirus. 380. And that's if we believe Trump. And remember, someone told me, and I can't remember who this was, someone told me that Trump downplays the coronavirus. He likes to. I can't recall who that was. It's probably some fake news.
In math decreased by half, and using online education compared to in-person or campus education. So online, we think of so many things online and how great it is. There's nothing like being in the classroom. That's what we've learned from this whole ordeal.
Is it?
According to the CDC, school closures disproportionately harm low-income and minority children, as well as those with disabilities.
That is true.
And I think you see some...
I don't know why Fox is not showing us the boards as well. You would think they would be doing that, but they're not.
Slides behind me that are very new, very current.
Thank you, Fox.
It's also crucial for colleges and universities to stay open, and we hope that...
He just flub up the word universities.
And I think you see some slides behind me that are very new, very current.
They're very new. Look at those new and current slides. Well, I mean, I'm all about new slides. I know you guys are here for the new slides. By the way, welcome. This is the live stream. My name's Kevin. I am your KevinlyFather. This is what we do. We chat truth to power. So welcome, everyone, pro or against Trump. We don't care. I just care about the facts. To give you a little background, I've never voted for Clinton. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm an independent. Let's get back to it.
It's also crucial for colleges and universities to stay open, and
it is.
We hope.
I mean, without the universities, where would we be?
That they do indeed stay open. We want to see Big Ten football. We hope it's coming back. We have a lot of the.
Again, plenty of young people. Plenty of young people. Let's play some football.
Colleges that we're talking about, they want to come back. We hope that Michigan agrees. We hope that, and I know the governor will have a lot to say about it. We hope she approves it, but we have a couple that Maryland's another one. We hope the governor puts a little pressure on so that we can have it, but I have a feeling they may do it. They may do it without having.
So this here's a cherry-picked list of everybody who got sick at the colleges. But then the reported hospitalizations. Let's see if I can bring that bigger for you here. Give me a second, kids. Let's see. And there we go. So this is what we're looking at here. This is what they're going to brag about now. Arizona State University, 807 infections, 0 hospitalizations. So they've picked a whole bunch of colleges where no hospitalizations were required. 25,941 people infected. That's the number tested that were infected. Out of that, 0 hospitalizations. However, what we're discovering is that there's a number of even athletes who end up with these weird enlarged hearts and other long-term syndromes because of this virus. But yeah, I mean, you can find all kinds of colleges that have 0 hospitalizations required. But to say, hey, here's a list of what, let's say that's 20, 25 colleges, so 1,000 per. Why are they showing us this? What do they think they're proving with that? We're not done. We're back. Here we go.
Everybody, but I think they're going to have maybe Michigan, maybe Maryland. We have a couple of states that might not participate, but people are working very, very hard to get Big Ten football back, and I'm pushing it. And it'll be a great thing for our country, and the players and the coaches want to do it really badly. The players are missing. They only have so many years of this, and the players are missing a big opportunity, including the chance in some of the cases to have.
Yeah, we're not expecting this to be around for the next 10 years. They can play. There's things called redshirt freshmen where you transfer and you literally can't play for an entire year. So it's not unheard of to skip a few months of football.
Some of the best players, college players in our country, and they want to get into the NFL and they want to make money in the NFL, and they're not going to be able to do that too easy if you don't get to see them play.
Yeah, 1 out of 500 of them are going to get into the NFL, so we really should be concentrating on that rather than their education.
Much safer for students to live on campus, and low-risk young people would rather than the alternative. The alternative is no good than going home, spreading the virus to high-risk Americans.
You want to try that sentence again in English?
It's much safer for students to live on campus, and low-risk young people would rather than the alternative. The alternative is no good than going home, spreading
So someone get me the transcript on that.
the virus to high-risk Americans. They want to be on campus. They want to go back to school, and the parents want them back in school, maybe more so than they want to be back in school. And they want to back safely, and they want to go back safely, but they have to go back. Based on the recent data from more than 20 colleges, not a single student who tested positive for the virus has been hospitalized. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of students. Not one has been hospitalized. As we continue
He should check out the new and current chart behind him.
to follow the science-based approach to protect our people and vanquish the virus, Joe Biden continues to use the pandemic for political gain. Every time I see him, he starts talking about the pandemic. He's reading it off a teleprompter. I'm not allowed to use a teleprompter. Why is that, Phil? They ask questions,
You use teleprompters all the time. What the hell is he even talking about?
and he starts reading the teleprompter. He says, move the teleprompter a little bit closer, please.
No, he said move the screen up so he could see the person asking the question. It was a video call, Zoom. Move it closer, please. No. No.
I don't know. I think if I did that, I'd be in big trouble. I think that would be the story of the year. When I took early action in January to
The story of the year is that you deceived the American people in order to win an election. That's the story of the year. That was also the story in 2016. See, if you lose this election, what you did in 2016 by defrauding the American people with a porn star, you know, Michael Cohen, who went to prison for this, you're in there. You're indicted. In that indictment, you're named as individual dumb. And as soon as you're out of office, pardon's not going to protect you from New York State. Anyway, you should downplay things. Let's see you downplay some things some more.
ban the travel and all travel to and from China.
Did not ban all travel to and from China. First off, to China? What is this from? No one said you can't go to China. Nobody was going to China. But no, he never banned travel coming from China. And this whole to China, that's just complete nonsense.
The Democrats and Biden in particular called it xenophobic. You remember that?
He called it when you called it the China virus and Kung Flu. He called that xenophobic.
Joe was willing to sacrifice American lives to placate the radical left, open border extremists. And we saved tens of thousands of lives, probably hundreds of thousands of lives. And we saved millions of lives by doing the closing and now the opening the way
He didn't do any closing, and you're killing people by opening. That's how that works.
we did it. Joe's decision to publicly attack the China ban proved he lacks the character or intelligence or instinct to do what is right.
No, he was writing about all of this before you even instituted the non-travel ban.
Now Biden's
I mean, they went through this with Ebola.
launched a public campaign against the vaccine, which is so bad.
He has not. He has said we do not trust Trump, but we will trust the scientists. That's specifically what he has said.
Because we have some vaccines coming that are incredible. Scott
Good.
was telling me about some of the things
Scott Atlas, radiologist,
that are happening, and it's very
not epidemiologist, not a vaccine specialist.
exciting, Scott. Thank you for being here. But
Scott Atlas, conservative Fox News doctor who deals specifically with MRIs of the head area. That doctor.
you don't want to have anything having to do with, for political purposes, being an anti-vaxxer. You don't want to be talking about the vaccines in a negative way, especially when you see the statistics
Trump himself has tweeted anti-vaxxing conspiracy theories.
that we're starting to see. They're incredible, actually. Biden's perfectly happy to endanger the lives of other people by doing something that he thinks is going to help him politically, because his polls are getting very bad. They're getting very shaky. This was an election that was going to be very easy, very quick, and then the China virus came in, and I had to go back to work politically. Unfortunately, I had to devote more time politically than the other things we do, which are very important for our country. But I had to go back to work, and it looks like we're going up very rapidly, more rapidly than the media wants to admit. And Biden's had to go out. He's gotten out of his basement, and he's working. Let's
Fox is the only one still broadcasting this.
see what happens. But we got to talk about how great these vaccines are, if in fact they're great. And I think you're going to see numbers that are going to be.
You just said that they were great. So you're now fact-checking yourself in real time?
Very, very impressive.
Yeah, that is very impressive.
The approach to the virus is a very unscientific blanket lockdown by the Democrats. That's what they're talking about. Which
That is completely scientific, by the way. The virus needs people nearby to spread from person to person, otherwise it dies out. That's exactly how a virus works.
takes all of these incredible statistics, records, and it throws them out the window. Now, they did say it would be based on the recommendation of the experts, but you know, whether expert or not, we're not doing any more shutdowns. We did the shutdown, and now we're doing the opening, and there won't be any more shutdowns. There could be a little section, a small section. We have a breakout, but we're not talking about shutdowns like.
Nope, that's, you just said there's not going to be a shutdown, except if there's a small section, then we'll have a shutdown. He's correcting himself in real time. Experts or not. Well, you did say experts, so. Wow. I don't think I even need to be here. Trump is doing this for himself.
We're talking about depending on experts. We're not going to be doing that.
Oh, we're not going to be depending on experts now? Is that what we're not doing?
The swine flu was a disaster. You remember when, not nearly as deadly, not the same world, but when Joe Biden was vice president.
12,000 people died.
His failed approach to the swine flu was disastrous. He called it N1H1. It's actually H1N1. You know, you remember the H comes before the N, so it's sort of easy to remember.
That's
right?
that's how you remember it, is it?
Calls it the opposite way, but it was call it the swine flu. It was
the same, because you got 20 names for COVID. You called it Corona 19 one time. You called it Kung flu. You called it the China virus. You called it a foreign virus. You got a bunch of names, but yeah. N1H1 is what we need to concentrate on that. So that was back when Joe Biden was president? Is that when that was? When he was president of the United States? When he was in charge? Is that what that was?
Disastrous. And his own chief of staff said that when Biden helped manage the swine flu in 2009, they, quote, did everything possible wrong. And 60 million Americans got H1N1. In that period of time. There's a quote from his chief of staff.
Yeah.
And it's just pure.
It's not a quote from his chief of staff. He's talking about Ron Klein, who was Ron Klein. Yeah, Ron Klein. He was not his chief of staff.
Purely a fortuity that this isn't one of the great mass casualties events. It had nothing to do with us doing anything right, because we did everything wrong. It was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Yeah, he was talking specifically about trying to produce the vaccine. They didn't get the vaccine But it's okay because the swine flu, which is a flu virus, not a coronavirus, the flu virus, it went away in the fall on its own. So that's the flu magically goes away. That's what the flu virus does, and then it comes back. In this case, the swine flu hasn't come back, and that's great. But we didn't have the technology to develop the vaccine. They were hoping to have a vaccine, but they didn't get there, and certainly not one that they could mass produce. And that's what Ron Klain was talking about.
And now he's telling us how to manage. He can't manage himself. 270,000
Not really sure what that means, but Trump wears diapers.
Americans were hospitalized during this attack. The outbreak was so rampant that the Obama administration
It's funny how he wants to downplay the coronavirus, but upplay the swine flu.
told states to stop testing. We don't want any tests because they don't want to show all of the things that tests show. By the way, we're setting a...
No, what happened was they recommended stopping testing in states that were seeing lower than 1% positivity. They didn't say everybody stop testing. And like I said, remember how we all died from the swine flu? 12,000 people died. It was terrible. I'm not downplaying that at all, but it dissipated on its own. We did get lucky. We're getting lucky with coronavirus, quite frankly. The fact that it might end up being a 3% mortality rate, great. The fact that it's got an R0 number anywhere between 1 and 3, we're lucky. If it was the measles, we'd all be dead if it had a 5 or a 10% mortality rate. Okay, well, no, 5 to 10% of us would be dead, but this is just the rehearsal virus, people.
record on testing. Our testing is at a level that nobody's ever seen before.
Not true. China's done 160 million.
We're substantially greater than the second country, which is India, by the way, which has 1.5 billion people. But
we're the second country.
50 million tests ahead. 50 million ahead. And they ordered the CDC to stop counting tests.
The what? The CDC?
Second country, which is India, by the way, which has 1.5 billion people, but we're 50 million tests ahead. 50 million ahead.
Well, let's just check that in this. Here we go. Let me pull this up. Give me just a second here, and we'll pull up. I don't know why I'm looking at the San Francisco 49ers versus Kansas City Chiefs. No idea why that's up on my screen, because I had no interest in that. Let's just pull up tests and see what's going on in the testing world, shall we? And then we'll see what he's talking about with the CBDB. Is he recommending CBD for coronavirus? Is that what he's saying? While this is loading, let's go back to the Trump.
And they ordered the CDC to stop counting tests.
The CDD? Well, yeah, because the CDD has no business counting tests. That's up to the CDC. And also the universities. That's still loading up. Wow, world virus is getting a ton of hits right now. Well, it's unresponsive. You know what? Shut up. Let's just wait. Give it a chance. It's very busy.
And stop counting cases.
The CGG.
And then left us a depleted stockpile, which is what I inherited. I inherited a very badly depleted stockpile.
Of tests for the swine flu?
In other words, Biden's record demonstrates that if he had been in charge of this very serious, highly contagious epidemic or pandemic, the China virus, countless more Americans would have died. And if we didn't do what we did, and I say it all the time now because the media likes to belittle what we've done has been incredible. Now you can...
Well, no, it really hasn't. We've had an absolutely dismal response to the virus. Johns Hopkins, the site he trusts, they rate it the fifth worst response on the planet. By the way, there's China with tests, 160 million. USA second with 89. India is not 50 million tests behind us. They have 52 million, almost 53. So they're, 37 million behind? And that's plenty. And per capita, that's fantastic. We're doing a great job with that. We still don't have near enough tests, not even close. The CDC just had to come out a couple of weeks ago and say, hey, if you're asymptomatic, don't get tested, which is not the way you want to do it, especially since asymptomatic people spread. It's a terrible, terrible idea. But there we are. So in terms of how our response has been, we're the fifth worst on the planet, according to Johns Hopkins.
Look at Europe, and you can look at other places, and you can start comparing.
We just did.
Biden is weak on China.
Spain is worse than us. All the other European countries, much better.
Yesterday it was revealed that...
How is this not just a rally? This is just attack Biden time. By the way, the drinking word is Biden.
A fund partly owned by Joe Biden's son Hunter facilitated the sale of a Michigan auto parts producer to a leading Chinese military defense contractor. You don't want to write about that, do you?
I haven't heard anything about that, but I'll look into it.
Biden spent his entire career selling Michigan jobs to China. Now the Biden family is selling out our country directly to the...
Nobody sold Michigan jobs to China. It's not a thing.
Chinese military.
If you got a problem, you got a problem with the corporations. Get on the corporations. Stop giving them tax breaks. Oh yeah, no, they're going to bring that money back in, and they're gonna totally spread that money around. They're not going to do the buybacks that we said that they would do. That's certainly not something that they would do. I got something to show you guys.
Which has to do with this company that Hunter, here we go with Hunter again. He didn't have a job. Now all of a sudden he's selling companies from Michigan to China. China's military got American manufacturing jobs, and the Biden family got paid a lot of money. And I say it, if Joe Biden ever got elected, China will own America. They will own America.
That doesn't make any sense.
Finally, I can announce with great pride that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will be departing this evening on a historic trip to Doha. That's Qatar, for the beginning of intra-Afghan peace negotiations. We've been negotiating with them for quite some time, getting along with them, moved a lot of soldiers out. I got a report this morning that there's been nobody killed in Afghanistan since early February. It's a long time. There's been no deaths, no problems. And,
no problems.
A lot of progress is being made in Afghanistan, but we'll be down to 4,000 soldiers in a very short period of time. Likewise, Iraq will be down to about 2,000 soldiers in a very short period of time. And
we were talking about the tax cut and the corporations taking jobs overseas. I want to show you guys this. At the time, everybody was saying, hey, you can't do those tax cuts because what's going to happen is that the company's going to bring back the money and they're just going to buy back stocks to boost their stock prices and help the shareholders. You see, the trouble with the whole trickle-down economics theory is that if you give somebody more money, they're just going to hire people. There has to be demand. Nobody hires people without there being a demand for the product. Until there's a demand for the product, it's simple supply and demand. Until there's demand, you don't need the supply. You don't suddenly create the supply and say, okay, come and get it, people. It's just not the way the economy has ever worked, which is why trickle-down economics has never worked. So here's Trump admitting, this is March 20th of this year, he admits that his tax plan was a big failure. Here we go.
Stock buybacks from their standpoint. I never liked stock buybacks from their standpoint. When we did a big tax cut, and when they took the money and did buybacks, that's not building a hangar, that's not buying aircraft, that's not doing the kind of things that I want them to do.
Yeah.
And we're now talking about buybacks. We didn't think we would have had to restrict it because we thought they would have known better. But they didn't know better.
We thought they would have known better. We thought that corporations whose fiduciary responsibility is to their stockholders would know better than to do good things for their stockholders. We thought that they would just hire a bunch of people that they didn't need. The man is such a fucking idiot. And here he is admitting that that's exactly what happened. What we told them would happen.
In some cases, not in all cases, obviously. Some people did an incredible job. They built plants all over the country. I mean, you'd see what's happened. I mean, we were doing, until this invisible enemy appeared, we were...
Remember when Fauci used to be in the press conferences?
And we never had an economy like this. But there were some companies that used that money to buy back stock.
Yeah.
Driving up the price of the stock artificially in many cases.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't like it.
Well, then you shouldn't have done the tax cut that everybody warned you about. And what happened? Exactly what we said what would happen. Exactly. I almost feel sorry for how stupid he is.
Syria, for the most part, we're out, other than we kept the oil. As we have soldiers guarding the oil, not too many, I think.
We didn't keep the oil. That's a war crime.
Small number, but they're guarding the oil, and we're helping the Kurds, and we're making their lives.
We deserted the Kurds.
Much more pleasant because of the fact that we have the oil.
Much more pleasant.
So we're pretty much out of Syria. We're pretty much out of Iraq, and we're down to the smallest force that
consistently brags about ending the ISIS caliphate. By the way, it was the Kurds who ended the ISIS caliphates. They did the dying on the fields for us, to the tune of, what was it, 11,000, I think? 11,000 Kurds. And now we're going to make their life more pleasant. After we abandoned them and they all had to leave their homes in northern Syria, but we're making their lives more pleasant. So you know what we should do for the Kurds? We should cut their taxes. And we'll watch. They would just buy back stocks. Ungrateful allies.
We've had we'll be very shortly down to that number in Afghanistan.
Rich, that joke is way overboard.
The negotiations are a result.
But you go ahead and milk it.
Of a bold diplomatic effort. One part of my administration in recent months and years, the United States will play an important role in bringing the parties together to end the decades-long war. It's been going on for almost 20 years, long before I got involved, I can tell you that. And had they not been wasting our time with all of the phony witch hunts and all of the things, we probably could have done this even faster. But a lot of time had to be spent, wasted like that. But the parties are together right now, and we're negotiating, and we're...
So wait, war in the Middle East because impeachment?
Really making tremendous progress. Next week at the White House, we'll be having a signing between UAE and Israel, and we could have another country added into that, and I will tell you, countries are lining up that want to go into it.
How are they lining up?
As you know, UAE is headed by a very, very highly respected gentleman, and respected by everybody.
Yeah, do you remember his name?
And he's a warrior, too. He's a great
he's
warrior.
A warrior. Okay, do you have a name?
And Mohammed's very excited about this, and you'll be hearing other countries coming in over a relatively short period of time. And you could have peace in the Middle East. I think what ultimately will happen is you're going to have quite a few countries come in. The big ones are going to be coming in. I spoke to the King of Saudi Arabia, so we're talking. We just started the dialogue. And you'll have them come in, and I think two things are going to happen. Iran will...
The UAE, the president of UAE, he doesn't have a name. Could just even Khalifa would be enough, would be acceptable.
If we win the election, Iran will come and sign a deal with us very, very rapidly within the first, I would say, week, but let's give ourselves a month, because their GDP went down 25%, which is like an unheard of number.
Ours went down 33%.
And they'd like to...
So I've heard of that.
To be able to get back to having a successful country again. So I think that'll happen, and I think very importantly, the Palestinians will get back into...
So what Biden should do in the debates is say, hey, you know what? I could handle a pandemic while being impeached.
The fold, and
Come on.
We see all of these countries that frankly have been supporters of the Palestinians, very big supporters, and certainly financial supporters. As you know, we used to pay the Palestinians $750 million a year, and I ended that some time ago on the basis that they didn't seem to want to make peace, and we'll think about it once we have a deal, but I've ended that quite a while ago. I'm frankly surprised they haven't been to the table earlier, but this is the...
Is anyone still awake? Because I am fast asleep right now.
The best way. This is a way that's going to be great. This can really bring the Middle East together. And again, since February, we haven't had a death in Afghanistan, that's a record for many years, not a death. And we're getting along very, very well with the Taliban and very well with Afghanistan and its representatives, and we'll see how it all goes. It's a negotiation, but Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will be departing in a little while. So I think that's very exciting news. And a lot of people thought that my natural instinct is war. No, my natural instinct is actually peace. When we were on the debate stage, people used to say, will it be 1 week or 2 weeks before President Trump gets into a war? But that's not. I did rebuild our military. We have a military that $2.5 trillion, new jets and rockets and tanks and
18% smaller than Obama's peak.
Ships and a lot of things we have. We have the newest, best military we've ever had. So hopefully we won't have to use it.
Is it new and current, though?
Our nuclear program has been put into gear like never before. And in particular, hopefully...
I know. You told Bob Woodward all about it with the top secret elements of it. Plus, you told us about the 17 times faster missile. So you're giving Russia and China some pretty good hints there. Plus, you gave away intelligence secrets to the Russians that the Israelis were kind of upset about. So, yeah, pretty much every country but Russia is rooting for you to be gone.
We won't have...
Oh, then there was the satellite photo in Iran as well.
...to use that, because that's a whole new level of destruction, and we never want to... Just have to pray to God we never have to use that. All right, please, John.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
John Roberts, probably. I thought John Roberts was hosting today.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust...
No, sorry, that's Jonathan Karl.
...what you have to say
That's
now?
That's a terrible question, and the phraseology. I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm. We can't be panicked. I knew that the tapes were... These were a series of phone calls that we had, mostly phone calls. And Bob Woodward is somebody that I respect just from hearing the name for many, many years, not knowing too much about his work, not
knowing too much about Bob Woodward, just from hearing his name. That's why he respects somebody, because he hears his name. Bob Woodward, the man who brought down, with Carl Bernstein, the man who brought down Richard Nixon. Didn't know too much about him or his work. Written multiple books on presidents. This is a guy who wanted to be president. Never read a Bob Woodward book.
Caring about his work, but I thought it would be interesting to talk to him for a period of, calls. So we did that.
A period of calls.
I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't even know if the book is good or bad. But certainly if he thought that was a bad statement, he would have reported it because he thinks that,
He would have reported it. To whom, exactly?
I don't want to have anybody that is going to suffer medically because of some fact. And he didn't report it because he didn't think it was bad. Nobody thought it was bad. Wait a minute. And your question, the way you phrase that is such a disgrace. It's a disgrace to ABC television network. It's a disgrace to your employer. And that's the answer. Are you ready? Because I love... Of course I didn't. Of course I didn't. No.
Deadlier than the flu, and then you went out and told the American public that this was just like the flu.
Let me tell you something. We've had flu years.
You told everybody else something else.
No, and 5 times, right? 5 times. Do you ever hear the expression 5 times? We've had flu years where we lost 100,000 people. The flu is a very serious problem for this country also, and we've been losing them. Scott, what kind of a number have we lost over the years with flus? Into the hundreds of thousands?
Well, I mean, the last 5 years have been something like 35 to 80,000 per year, every year, even with antiviral drugs and even with
flu is a very serious problem also. But just so you know,
this is worse than the most deadlier than the most strenuous flu.
Okay.
And then you went out and said it's just like the flu.
What I went out and said is very simple. Listen, what I went out and said is very simple. I want to show a level of confidence, and I want to show strength as a leader, and I want to show that our country is going to be fine one way or the other. Whether we lose one person, we shouldn't lose any, because this shouldn't have happened. This is China's fault. This is nobody's fault but China. China should not have allowed it to happen. Whether you have one person, 180,000 people, or 2.5 or 3 million people, which it could have been very seriously if we didn't make the moves. And when you look at the opposition, where they said, oh, why did he put the ban on? Dr. Fauci said we saved hundreds of thousands of lives by putting the ban on China and then ultimately putting the ban
actually, he's never said that.
On Europe. There was no lie here. What we're doing is we're leading, and we're
you said you downplayed it.
Leading in a proper way. And if, frankly, somebody else was leading it, they wouldn't have closed it. If you look at
Trump never closed anything.
Nancy Pelosi, you look at Cuomo, you look at de Blasio, you look at Biden, months later they said there's no problem. They're talking about me. Months later, and before any statement was made,
None of them has said there's no problem with Trump.
you have to remember, I put the ban on China. So obviously, outwardly, I said it's a very serious problem. And it's always a serious problem. That doesn't mean I'm going to jump up and down in the air and start saying, people are going to die, people are going to die. No, I'm not going to do that.
You're going to lie, and you're going to say pretty soon it's going to be close to zero. You're going to say we're going to keep going down. You're going to worry about the numbers. You're going to deceive and downplay the American public. You're going to say, I'm not going to wear a mask. It's recommended, but I'm not going to do it.
Get through this, and
that's what leadership is, confidence. That's what he said. Leadership is confidence.
Right now, I really think we're rounding the final turn, and a lot of good things.
He's the world's biggest confidence man. That's where the expression comes from. Somebody who is brimming with confidence and is lying to you the whole time. A con man. Confidence man. That's what con man means. That's him. He just said it.
Things are happening with vaccines and with therapeutics. But there's no lying. And the way you asked that question is very disgraceful. Phil, go ahead, please.
You said, I'd like to play the virus down. That's what you said.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I do think so. I think we did a great job. I think we did a great job.
I want to hear back.
Rounding the final turn. And a lot of good things are happening with vaccines and with therapeutics. But there's no lying. And the way you asked that question is very disgraceful. Phil, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
But people trusted you, is what he said.
Yeah, I do think so. I think we did a great job. I think we did a great job. And the people that did such are generals, our admirals, Mike Pence, all of the people that have worked so hard. And now Dr. Atlas, and all of them, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, they should be respected for the job they've done.
So you won't downplay it again. You won't downplay it again because you said you downplayed it. That's what you told me.
All I'm doing is, I don't want to jump up and down and start screaming death, death, because that's not what it's about. We have to lead a country. We're leading a great country, and we're doing a great job.
So this is the amazing job that we've done, the amazing job that Trump has done in the United States. Here's Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center, and they give the U.S. the 5th worst marks on the planet. Per 100,000. That's death per 100,000. Peru, the worst. Spain, that's in Europe, so that they did worse than us. Chile, Bolivia, Ecuador, Brazil. Sorry, 6th worst. That's 5 other countries ahead of us. So 6th worst. Okay, well, that's way better. So very impressive, the numbers that we've done. Iran has done a better job. Iraq, Russia, Turkey, India, Philippines, Indonesia, all better than what we're doing as a country. But, he's done an amazing job.
And the people that have done such a good job should be given the kind of credit that they deserve. We possibly have
I just gave him the credit he deserves.
Done the best jobs. When you start looking at what we're doing with the vaccines and therapeutics and ventilators, we had no ventilators, John. We make thousands.
We had 19,000 ventilators. He said so himself.
Thousands of ventilators now a month, and we're supplying them to the whole world. The job we've done is the best job, and don't.
Not the best job, the 6th worst job.
Give me any credit. Give the people that have done this the credit. They've done a great job. Yeah, Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, you talked about the need to stay calm and not just up and down and scare people. A lot of other world leaders were calm. German Chancellor Angela Merkel was very calm as she presented information to the German people so that they could stay safe and protect their families. So why, as you as President of the United States, did you not level with the American people? Did you not share the information that you knew at the time in real time?
Well, I don't know what Angela's doing, but if you look at the European Union right now, they're having breakouts like you've never seen before, and frankly, their numbers are at a level that are much worse than the numbers here. We have done much better than the European Union. I just read you numbers that are not good on their behalf and that are very good on ours, and we have rounded the final turn, and we're going to have vaccines very soon, maybe much sooner than you think. Listen, maybe much sooner than you think. But
Again, let's go check out Europe. Not just the European Union. Let's just throw all of Europe together, shall we? I'm going to bring this over here and throw that up there. We were just there anyway. So this is just the U.S. by itself. New cases yesterday. Let's go to yesterday. New cases yesterday, and we're looking at 35,000 new cases yesterday. Let's go to Europe. We'll keep this on Europe over on this side. We'll go to yesterday on Europe. It's thinking about it. We'll go to yesterday. New cases. Oh, 40,000 new cases. So they did worse than us yesterday. So there you have it. So I can't make it the European Union by itself, which would take away. Oh, no, sorry. This is not accurate. You got to take 5,000 cases off of that because of Russia. So Russia's not part of the European Union, obviously. The Ukraine just got admitted. They're another high number. So it's about even right now in terms of new cases. Let's go back and see specifically what Trump was talking about, because he may be wrong. He may be right about this. I may be crazy.
European Union, I just read you numbers that are not good on their behalf, that are very,
Well, remember, he read the numbers about the death being 50% higher in Europe, which is not the case.
very good at ours, and we have rounded the final turn, and we have...
We don't know if we've rounded the final turn. There's no roadmap for this. This is a brand new virus.
We're going to have vaccines very soon, maybe much sooner than you think. Listen, maybe much sooner than you think. But we have done a phenomenal job. And the people that have done this job, including the American public that's had to put up with a lot, with the lockdowns and all of the things that they had to do, they have to be given credit. They have to be given credit.
But you knew this
Please,
was
go
a
ahead.
deadly virus. You knew it was airborne. You knew on February 7th, you told Bob Woodward how it transferred from...
There's a common mistake here made with the nomenclature. Airborne is a virus that will actually hang in the air, like measles. So there's a difference between something that can spread through the air, for example, you cough and the droplets drop to the ground, and a virus that is airborne. And scientists do believe now that the virus is airborne. Trump did not say on February 2nd that it was airborne. He said that it can spread through the air. It's just a scientific differentiation, but it is important. So I'm always fair. Just like I just showed you, Europe, take away Russia. But the EU and the United States had about the same number of new cases. We are on the way down. We were averaging last week about 40,000. So 35,000 is great for the United States. Prospectively.
person to person in the air, how deadly it was. Why did you not come to the podium and
Well, let me ask you this. If Bob
That's correct.
Woodward thought that was bad, because this is stuff that everyone knew. There's a report
No, it's not stuff that everybody knew. We didn't know how it spread to begin with. Do you guys remember washing your bananas? I still do.
that I have here someplace where China said it was airborne earlier than the statements I made. People knew it was airborne. This was nothing. This was no big. When I say it was airborne,
They spent so much time claiming that China and the World Health Organization hid the fact that it was airborne, and now he's saying China says that it was airborne. Remember, he got that information from President Xi, as we know from the recording, because he talked to Xi the day before.
and everybody knew
And then tweeted about how transparent Xi
it was
Xi
airborne.
was.
This was no big
I
thing.
know that in February.
Well, read the reports. China came out with a statement that it was an airborne disease. I heard it
No, they didn't.
was an airborne disease. I assumed it early on. The fact is, there has to be a calmness. You don't want me jumping up and down, screaming, there's going to be
There has to be a what? A
Thing.
communist?
February.
Well, read the reports. China came out with a statement that it was an airborne disease. I heard it was an airborne disease. I assumed it early on. The fact is, there has to be a calmness. You don't
Oh, a calmness. I don't know what a calmness is. Yeah, so all the other world leaders who did better jobs, they told the truth, and the people didn't panic. I don't know why President Trump thinks the Americans are such babies. I mean, granted, he is the president, so somehow he got elected. It kind of makes sense. I mean, 32% of the country may have panicked, and they have guns. So maybe, retrospectively, Trump made the right decision.
want me jumping up and down, screaming, there's going to be great death, and really causing some very,
Can you imagine Trump jumping up and down with his bone spurs?
very serious problems for the country. If Bob Woodward thought
The man can't waddle down a ramp. No one is picturing him jumping up and down.
But what I said was bad, then he should have immediately, right after I said it, gone out to the authorities so they can prepare and...
You're the fucking authority!
that
Oh, we went all the way back. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Sorry. Come on. Let's see where we are.
You look at Cuomo, you look at de Blasio,
We went
you
back.
look at Biden.
Hold on.
Months
Sorry,
later-
guys.
On their behalf, that are very good at ours, and we have rounded the final turn, and we have
Almost there.
stuff that everyone knew. There's a report that I have here someplace,
Go ahead and find it.
the fake news media, because they take it and they try and put it...
Here we go.
Gone out to the authorities so they can prepare and let them know. But he didn't think it was bad, and he said he didn't think it was bad. He actually said he didn't think it was bad. The only one that said it was bad or thinks it was bad were the fake news media, because they
Did Woodward say he didn't think it was bad?
take it and they try and put it a certain way. If Bob Woodward thought it was bad, then he should have immediately gone out publicly, not wait 4 months. You know, he's had that statement for 4 months, maybe 5 months. He's had it for a long time. It was a series of taped interviews, mostly by telephone.
7
Quick
months.
ones, not long ones, quick ones. And I did it out of curiosity because I do have respect and I want to see. I wonder whether or not somebody like that can write good. I don't think he can,
Right,
but
well.
let's see what happens. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're just about 50 days out from the
You sure write good.
election, and we haven't seen a lot out of the Durham investigation yet.
Yeah.
Where is that? And do you have confidence in the investigation?
Well, I can't tell you that yet. I have to see. I'm not involved in it. I purposely stayed uninvolved. I'm, I guess, considered the chief law enforcement officer of the country. I could be involved if I wanted to. I thought it would be better if I wasn't. I think it's better if our great attorney general handled it. He has Durham, who is a very, very respected man, and we're going to see what it is. I can't tell you that. I can tell you this. I can tell you this. They lied. They cheated. They leaked. They got caught. They spied on my campaign. Never in history has there been anything like this. And I guarantee if the roles were reversed and I was on the Democrat side, people would have been in jail at the very highest level. People would have been in jail for
I missed that. Was he talking about Obamagate or spying or something?
2 years already. Nothing like this has ever happened. And the term would be for many, many years because it's treason, and other words can be used also.
So you think there should be more indictments as a part of this
Well, I
investigation?
think just on what I read in your wonderful papers, I think, and see what, you know, just looking at the media.
Wonderful
Not even
papers.
what I know. I think Comey is a disgrace to our country. I think Strzok, who just wrote a book, which is a total fake, is a disgrace. I think Page, Lisa Page, his lover, is a disgrace to our country. I think that when you look
used
at
to call her
McCabe,
lovely.
where his wife got $700,000 in campaign contributions from Hillary Clinton, right? And then Hillary Clinton's under investigation, and yet she paid the head of the FBI, one of the top people, but actually the head because he took over for the other guy, who fortunately I fired. I made a good move when I fired. That was a smart move because they were looking to take down this administration, duly elected
That is just a mishmash of facts that were all checked out just fine by the FBI ethics office. But anyway.
administration. So I fired him. That was a great move when I fired him, because maybe if I didn't, I wouldn't be here talking to you as president. But when McCabe's wife
I thought Hannity was the president. I can't keep up.
gets $700,000 in campaign contributions when she was running for whatever office she was running from Virginia, and yet it was a great move when I fired him, because maybe if I didn't, I wouldn't be here talking to you as president. But when McCabe's wife gets $700,000 in campaign contributions when she was running for whatever office she was running from Virginia, and yet he's in charge of the investigation of Hillary
It wasn't from Hillary, by the way. That's a lie.
Clinton.
It was Terry McAuliffe. Oh, Jesus Christ, what happened?
He says, well, I wasn't really in charge. Of course he was in
Okay.
charge. He was totally in charge. He knew exactly what was going on. These
No, they're not connected at all. They're two different timelines.
people got caught in probably the biggest political scandal in the history of our country. They got caught. Now, what the Durham report is going to say, I can't tell you. But if they say half as much as I already know just from seeing it, you have people, I watch some of the shows. I watched Liz McDonald. She's fantastic. I watched Fox Business.
Yeah, Lou Dobbs.
I watched Lou Dobbs last night.
Yeah.
Sean Hannity last night.
Yeah, you were on
Tucker
Sean
last
Hannity.
night.
Yeah.
Laura.
Uh-huh.
I watched Fox and Friends in the morning. You watch these
What a wonderful bubble you live in.
shows. You don't have to go too far into the details. They cover things that are, it's really an amazing thing. They got caught in the biggest political scandal in the history of our country. They were spying on their opponent's campaign. Not only spying, they were making up fake dossiers. You have the dirty dossier. They were making up the dirty, it was all made up. It was all fiction. It turned out to be
Well, your lawyer says that 70% of it was true.
fiction. And then they were using that in the FISA courts, this revered court. Well, it's not so revered anymore because
No, the court is revered. Kevin Kleinsmith hid information from the court. The FISA court itself is still the FISA court, and it's a good thing.
when you look at what they did and how they played it, and they hurt a lot of people. General Flynn is still being hurt, and he's being hurt very badly. He's a wonderful person. I spoke
He's
to
being hurt?
General Milley about General Flynn 2 weeks ago. Anymore.
There's no tease there.
Because when you look at what they did and how they played it, and they hurt a lot of people. General Flynn is still being hurt, and he's being hurt very badly.
Okay,
He's
the first
a
time there was.
wonderful person. I spoke to General Milley about General
General Flynn is QAnon. Where we go one, we go all. Anyway.
Flynn 2 weeks ago. I said, what do you think of General Flynn? He said, he's a great soldier, sir, and he's a wonderful, wonderful human being. He's been destroyed. He's been destroyed. No, I think that this, without knowing anything about what Durham is going to release, the Durham report, we'll call it, or maybe it's going to be more than a report. Maybe it's going to be much more than a report. I don't know. Maybe it's a report, or maybe it's much more than that. But when I look at the
Criminal charges?
the things that everybody in this room knows just from reading about it from yourselves back and forth, I think it's a disgrace to our country. And I think if people don't pay a very, very substantial price, it'll happen again. And this should never, ever happen to another president. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is that it?
All right, you've been listening.
Will you still mislead the American people, Mr. President? That's the question from Caitlin. Caitlin Collins with CNN, I believe. That sounded like her voice. And the president instead, well, he just turns around and...
Where are you going?
Always my favorite. Guys, we will be back later today. If I get a chance, I will broadcast Trump's rally in Michigan. It's supposed to start about 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We don't know if that'll happen. There may or may not be a helicopter moments on his way there. Sometimes he does one on the way. Typically, they've been doing these now at airfields, so he just lands, gets off the plane. It may be before 7 o'clock when that starts. I don't know. We'll see what happens later today. I got a bunch of stuff to do, but I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do that. So we will see you later on. Thanks for joining us for the broadcast. Welcome everyone that is new. This is the live stream. This is what we do. We stream lies. Well, we stream their lies and we fact check. And sometimes we'll stream things that aren't lies too. Just whatever catches our interest at the time. If you'd like to support this, you can. You can send me Venmo money at that address right there. I got it right. We can send me money at PayPal, paypal.me/KevinlyDad, or go to Patreon and support me there, KevinlyFather.com. That's KevinlyFather.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and hit the little bell for alerts. I can't show you what that looks like right now, but there's a little bell on YouTube, and that way you get an alert when we go live, and then you can join in on the chat or not chat at all. It's entirely up to you. Guys, here are some closing credits. I still haven't corrected that. I still haven't updated the credits. I will. It's funny, too, when I let the credits go a few days without updating them, people stop subscribing because they'll be like, he's not updating. I know. You guys are all about just getting your name in the credits. That's the important part. So as long as Chris keeps getting his 38 cents in, I think I'm done, really. Chris is the one who matters. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you later on this afternoon. Be good.